Coming up next on the Giants Chronicles podcast, we're talking all things Daniel Jones update and Combine Day 2 of workouts with defensive backs. What's going on, everybody? Welcome, Giants Chronicles, episode 10, and I'm your host, Gabe. How are we doing tonight? So today, actually, we had a couple Daniel Jones updates since the last podcast, so I figured I would update all of you on kind of what's going on with the situation at the moment. The latest report, actually, we'll go in order of reports and how they came out. So around last night, Pat Leonard, a New York Daily News reported that Daniel Jones's reps are seeking more than $45 million per year as the Giants work daily on a new deal. And then the article continued to say this should explain why they're still not close on a deal. League sources tell the Daily News that Jones representatives are asking for more. That's more than $45 million per year on a multi-year contract extension. To give you an idea of the $45 million range, that is what Patrick Mahomes is making as a quarterback right now for the Kansas City Chiefs a year. I don't think that's the final number. Again, there's a difference between asking what the final number is. I think the final number will be in the 40 million to 38 million range, as I have said all along. I really don't see Daniel Jones getting $45 million. There's no way. No way. So 38 to $40 million range is still the range I'm thinking he could land in. And then we had another report come out this morning that from Jordan Run-On, or this afternoon. I have heard in recent days that there has been progress between Daniel Jones, his representatives, and the Giants. Getting something done by Tuesday doesn't seem unreasonable. So Jordan Run-On is saying, hey, something could still get done. Do not lose faith. It sounds as if there will be a 4 at the front runner of their annual salary. So Jordan Run-On's reporting, sounds like it's going to be in the $40 million range. And then basically that was kind of the reports. And then Ian O'Connor reported league sources said that the start of the negotiations, Daniel Jones' representatives initially asked for $47 to $48 million, which, among other things, would be more than double the value of his fifth-year option that the Giants declined last year. Ouch. This report doesn't seem as reliable as the others. First of all, 47, 48 million is like really extreme. And it kind of seems like Ian O'Connor's just kind of spinning things here. And then you have the latest report from Dov Kleiman and Albert Breer. The Giants have offered quarterback Daniel Jones a contract worth between $35 to $39 million per year, source tells Albert Breer. Daniel Jones is reportedly seeking more than $45 million per season. So it tells you the contract has been communicated to his agents. His representatives understand where the Giants are, and they're trying to bridge that gap. Just like they did with Saquon Barkley, they tried to bridge that gap. Don't know how not a lot of talk about Saquon Barkley since I posted my video about yesterday about if they get a deal done with Daniel Jones, they will tag Saquon. So very interesting to see how this all plays out. Again, I will be bringing you guys up-to-date news on every bit of this until we have some answers. Again, it'll be interesting to see if these reports are indeed true, factual, stuff like that. But let's get into what this video is meant for, and that's talking about day 2 of the NFL Combine. Today we're safeties, cornerbacks, I believe special teams, but I didn't watch a lot of special teams. I usually don't at the combine. It's kind of, it's special teams, so kind of get what you get kind of thing with them. But let's start with safeties. Didn't do a lot of work on the safeties at the combine. I have a couple of names just here down with kind of the lowdown of what you need to know about the safeties, kind of the impressive ones and maybe the ones that had a disappointing day. I'd start with safety Daniel Scott out of California. He was a guy going in the Senior Bowl that he had a lot of to prove. He didn't really make any key plays in the Senior Bowl that I remember, but he was decent. He was a decent safety at California, and he is now at the combine, and he had a good day. He did have a good day. His stock completely probably rise after today. He is the most athletic safety at the combine today. Not only did he have he had an eyebrow raising 4.45 second 40-yard dash. To go with that, he had a 39.5-inch vertical and a 10'8" broad jump. So that's the numbers of leading to him to be the most athletic safety at the combine. And he also moved very well. He's very athletic. He was he had good control of his feet, good footwork, he had good vision, stuff like that. And so he's pretty impressive today, and someone whose stock definitely rose after the combine, after his combine workout portion. So it'll be very interesting. Again, we still have pro days in this journey, see how he does there. But his stock definitely rose after today in the safety department of the draft. Then you have safety Jair Brown from Penn State. Jair Brown, he was kind of looked at as a mid-round, third-round pick safety who unfortunately had a disappointing day at the combine. He ran a 4.65, which was disappointing. Not a great run for him. But he was a playmaker on the field. He had sacks, he had tackles, he was all over the place. Kind of a good fit for Wing's system. A defense they run at Penn State is similar to Wing's defense. They blitz packages, man coverage kind of defense. And Jair Brown, of course, was in that defense at Penn State. Made plays all over the field, and he could come in and be a replacement for Julian Love in case Julian Love walks in free agency, which I have voiced my opinion on that. I do think he will be one of the players that we ultimately have to let go of in free agency, unfortunately. But there's a lot of safeties in this draft you can replace him with that will come in and either develop while you have a Jason Pinnock or a Dane Belton playing his role, or can start right away. So yeah, he had a disappointing day, but still lots of upside. I mean, he was really good at Penn State, and combine matters, but when someone has a disappointing day, you kind of go back to the tape. You look at their tape and it kind of reminds you of the player he is. Then your safety, Sidney Brown out of Illinois. Sidney Brown, he was looked at as one of the better safeties in this year's draft. And I believe he's projected to go around the same range as Jair Brown. He ran a 4.47, so a little better, much better than Jair Brown. Not quite on the level of Daniel Scott. And he's a good man, a deep man safety. So when we were talking about Jair Brown, we're talking more of an in the box kind of safety, blitz packages, stuff like that. Sidney Brown, kind of the opposite in a way. He's a man zone safety. So he drops back to deep zone in a man coverage scheme, which would also fit Wing system. But again, he would kind of provide more of a depth role, and maybe that's not the best fit for him. I think, again, he'll probably go somewhere that is more of a better fit for him and actually values him more than we would, as he'd probably be more of a backup to Xavier McKinney. He has a similar skill set to Xavier McKinney, and he would have a similar role, but you always need rotational pieces. So if he falls to the fourth roundish, maybe the Giants take a shot on him and move him to an in-the-box safety. You can move your safeties around. You don't really have to devote them to one position group. Wink Martindale says all the time, we are a positionless defense, so definitely something that could change. Very interesting to see how that goes. But guys, I think to summarize the safety position, I think it's very possible we draft a safety this year. Someone I didn't have down on my list is Trey Dean out of Florida. I've had him in multiple mock drafts. and I think it's very possible, starting in the third round to a seventh round. Like I mentioned a couple minutes ago, Julian Love wants top of the tier safety money, and when we have priorities like Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley ranked over top of him, you can't really say that you're going to pay Julian Love also. So you have to let some players go, and I think Julian Love falls out after that, and I think we could draft potentially a safety for another year again. We drafted a lot of safeties recently, but yeah, I think it'll be very interesting to see that. But that's kind of the main notes I had from the combine. Some guys that stood out to me, rose their stock, maybe had a disappointing day. But yeah, so now we have cornerbacks. Cornerback's a very interesting position for the Giants this year. You kind of in the cornerback room, you got Dory Jackson, who's kind of like locked in as a starter for at least the 2023 season. But beyond that, you don't really know what's going to happen at the future of the cornerback position for the New York Giants. I think it's very possible that we even take one as soon as round one in this year's draft, as cornerback is pretty stacked this year. It's a pretty stacked position group in this draft. It's probably one of the deepest in this draft, along with running back and other positions, but it's probably one of the deepest in this draft. And it opened a lot of eyes to me today, and I got to see some of the ones I've been looking at the past couple weeks, and there are some new ones. So I'm very interested to see if any of these stood out to the Giants, and of course, only time will tell with that. Reports, and then the draft day, of course, or draft days, of course. But let's start with a name that not a lot of people know about, and I thought I read some information on him before I started recording this podcast. He's a very interesting name. I'm impressed. His name's Clark Phillips out of Utah. He's a cornerback, and he's kind of a slot corner. So we have a lot of slot corners. We have more slot corners than probably I would like. But, he's a 5'9", kind of a little undersized slot corner, 4.5, 150, or 40-yard dash. Sorry, 50-yard dash. Like what? 40-yard dash today. And yeah, he was impressive. Someone stood out to a lot of scouts and a lot of reporters today. You saw a lot about him probably on Twitter if you're into Twitter and stuff like that. So he was someone I didn't really know a lot about. I do believe I had him in a couple of my mock drafts, but someone that interested me. I don't know exactly what rounds he's projected to go in yet. Again, that information, I'll do a deeper dive into the draft, of course, after the combine. Because I have done a lot of free agency work the past couple weeks. So I'm going to get into more of draft work after my free agency pod, which is coming out next week. Free agency preview. So then we have another cornerback I didn't know a lot about either. Emmanuel Forbes out of Mississippi State. Very interesting player. Again, he's an underweight. He's not undersized. He's 6'1", so he's not undersized. He's just underweight, kind of like a Cordell Flott last year. Needs to add a little more weight, muscle, of course, we're talking, but has elite ball tracking skills. He tracked the ball really well in drills today. It was known that he could track the ball very well before today, but he just proved that to everyone watching at the combine. In the drills, a lot of the drills are ball tracking skills and stuff like that. So, very interesting with him. And I'm pretty sure I haven't heard a lot about him. I think he's a mid to later round pick, so it could be someone the Giants look to develop. Again, I mentioned he's undersized, so kind of need to develop that, kind of like we did with Cordell Flott this past year. Someone that I think could be in play, or some players I think could be in play at pick 25. You have cornerback Julius Brents out of Kansas. Not a lot of people know a lot about him, but he was someone that came into the combine, could rise, and could potentially go into that slide in that first round. I think in some drafts he is considered a first round pick. It just kind of depends how the board falls. But he ran a 4.53 for the 40, which is good for his size. He had burst when you watched it. It was he had burst, and you could see he had that sprint. So very he has good agility, footwork, stuff like that. He's someone that was looked at about. There were articles on him, could rise and potentially, we still have pro days to go, which always are big too, just as big as the combine in some ways. And so we could see more of him there. And then you have cornerback Kai Blue Kelly out of Stanford. So he's someone I did know about before today. He's a second to third round pick cornerback. Had a disappointing day. 4.52, which was 21st among cornerbacks for their 40-yard dash. He's a projected day 2 pick, like I said, second to third round. He's a little disappointing to me. I thought he would run a faster 40, of course, and just kind of didn't have a great day in my mind. Kind of a little disappointing, but again, we still have pro days to go, and then you have, of course, the in-person workouts with teams, stuff like that. So, of course, still time to make up for it, but it was just a disappointing day for him. I kind of had high expectations for him as possibly a Giants draft pick in the second and third round, and he kind of just made me reconsider a little. And I mean, of course, the tape will tell. But you gotta look into it. I gotta look into it more. And here's someone like I legitimately think is in play at 25 before today, who didn't really have to rise their stock, but did rise their stock. Quarterback Deontay Banks out of Maryland. He was, he impressed me. He was someone I had my eye on as I seen him fall to us in mock drafts, and I picked him in mock drafts actually. He impressed today. He rose his stock today, and I definitely think he's now certainly in play. If he falls to 25, I believe the Giants would draft him. Good footwork, agility, and he had good speed in the 40. He ran a 4.35, which was third among corners. So very, very, very good 40 for him. And listen, he has agility. Like I said, good footwork, good speed, everything you want a corner to have. I believe he's a press man corner, by the way, which kind of fits Wink's scheme, like we are talking about. A lot of these players have to fit Wink's scheme, as it's not that zone scheme. It's more of a man, press man scheme that you kind of got to find the right guys for. Then we have cornerback Tyreek Stevenson out of Miami. He balled out at the Senior Bowl. Someone I had my eye on in the Senior Bowl. I want to go back and watch the Senior Bowl recap video. I talked about him a lot in there. So you can go check that out. But he's a solid press man corner. His draft stock continues to rise. It rose after the Senior Bowl, and actually I've seen him in some first round mock drafts. So it definitely rose in at the Senior Bowl. Unfortunately, he had a 4.46, which isn't a bad 40 time. It was 14th among cornerbacks. Didn't expect him to have a great 40 time. I just kind of wanted to see what he had. It wasn't bad. And yeah, he could be in play at 25 too. He was actually looked at as a second round pick before going to the Senior Bowl. His draft stock has just risen tremendously over the past couple weeks in this pre-draft process. So very interesting to see if he's possibly in play at pick 25. I've seen him in mock drafts go before the Giants. So like I said, cornerback class is deep. And there's a lot of cornerbacks that could be in play. If there's not a wide receiver, Shane Links at pick 25, he could 100% go cornerback for the future. And here, of course, is probably one of the stars of the day. Cornerback DJ Turner out of Michigan. What a day this kid had. What a day. I think he had the best 40 time out of corners. I can double check that real quick, but he had a 4.27 40 time. Very fast and explosive. Again, a slot corner, which isn't a big need for the Giants. But if he's sitting there in 4th or 5th round pick, you preach in those rounds, you select best available, and he could possibly be the best available in that situation. And also, I kind of wanted to mention him because, of course, like I was saying, he was one of the stars of the day. And this isn't just a podcast just for what the Giants need, but also for what other teams might be looking at. So, yeah, he did. He had the best. It was actually a 4.26 official time. Sorry, I said 4.27. 4.26 official 40 time. Best out of actually all the prospects at this year's draft that have ran their 40 so far. So, pretty impressive. He had a good punch at the line of scrimmage is what I saw on film and what I've seen in kind of draft reports about him. Fast, explosive, like I said, and definitely someone that I would consider in the mid rounds, but again, slot corner probably not one of the Giants' biggest needs. Someone they're not going to spend high draft pick on, and because of today and what the future holds in the pre-draft process, his stock could rise and potentially a team drafting him higher than anyone really thought originally. So, I have one last prospect to talk about. And shout out Chrissy Entertainer for talking to me about this prospect. And he impressed me today. He did. I was very impressed by him today. Cornerback. Kaylee, I don't know exactly her first name, but his name's Kaylee Ringo out of Georgia, who is a press man coverage corner. Fits Wink Martindale's scheme perfectly. Almost made for Wink Martindale's scheme. And he's impressive. Definitely someone that we should consider pick 25 if he even falls that far. He was fourth among cornerbacks with a 4.35 40th time. He was fifth among corners. And he's someone that impressed me a lot today. Kind of got him on my radar screen a little more than he even was before, and someone I'd look into. With that, those are all the prospects that impressed me today. And I hope you guys are enjoying my combine content. Again, we'll have 2 more days of combine content, 1 episode coming out tomorrow, which will be Sunday. And then we'll have 1 coming out on Monday, recapping Sunday's events. So that recaps an episode. Thank you guys for watching. As always, share, like, and subscribe. And let's go Big